there, thanks for joining again. We're going to be working on the Ranger engine as continued today, but I wanted to just say I know a lot of you have enjoyed the Ural videos. I do have some work that needs to be done on that, so stay tuned because more of those videos are coming. It's just that I need to keep riding that until I get this running, but this week it should be running, so we'll be back to working on the Ural and some maintenance and upgrade items. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more of that. But for now, it's back on getting this engine and the lower intake put on. So now that the parts are in, we're gonna go ahead and get started by putting this engine back together. You can see that's where I am. So first thing that's going in is new lifters, and then we'll work on getting the heads on. Next up's head gaskets and getting these heads on. So what I'm doing with the mallet is those dowels. Sometimes they're a little tight on these, so you just kind of need to tap them down, which can be tricky when you're not trying to hit anything important. That should be all of them. That last 90-degree turn for all the bolts. Those heads should be ready to go. Well, I've got the newly painted and cleaned lower intake set in there. I'm just getting the bolts dropped in and then I'll tighten those up. All I did was get the lower intake manifold put back on. Once I finally got the correct torque specs, it's ready to go. One exciting thing that did happen today though is I finally got the plenum that I had fabricated to put the supercharger on all this. So I'm gonna see if I can show you roughly what that's gonna look like. There is the adapter and plenum that I had created. It is all steel. That's a pretty beefy, probably 40 to 50 pounds. That was all multiple pieces, so I'm excited to get this on. So we're gonna go ahead and get the push rods in there, and then we're gonna go ahead and put the rocker arms on. Doing the final torque checks. I already got the other side done. That's one more step in getting this going. I had to step out for dinner for my brother-in-law's birthday, and I got back and I finally got the right length exhaust bolts to put the exhaust manifold back on, so those are on and in place. So now those exhaust manifolds are back on, I was able to get the fuel rails in place and the injectors back in, and then I was able to mock fit the plenum and intake that I had fabricated. I'm pretty excited about it. So here's what it looks like. So you can see the fuel rails are in place. I've got two gaskets in place, one for the fuel rail, one for this manifold. It does sit at an angle, and that's so it clears this. So he built it just right. The hose will fit just on there and it won't get in the way. The fuel line will be able to hook up there to the vacuum regulator, and it'll sit slightly at an angle. All right, so we've got this hole drilled on the side. Idle intake temperature sensor, which is supposed to have a 3/8 inch NPT. And it looks like it's gonna thread in. There's no way to access this bolt or this bolt hole easily once it's installed. I've tried seeing if I can get an extension underneath through the opening or something like that, but the easiest way is just going to be drilling a hole through the top of the plate and then plugging that hole with a removable plug. So I'm going to go ahead and get those drilled. Last Friday I had to get it together because we were supposed to go on an off-road trip, and I did get all the stock stuff put back on. Didn't get the supercharger quite finished yet, but I got it all back together, and when I started it up, there was a noise coming from about the same area I was having noise come from before. It sounded like a bad lifter, basically noise in the valve train. Well, I had put the new lifters in and the new push rods and had the new heads on, and so I couldn't figure out what it was. I thought maybe one of the oil passages wasn't getting enough flow, so I just drove it down the street, and just doing that and back, the push rod in that number 1 cylinder popped out again. Now, I'm not 100% sure what caused that. It could have been an issue with the oil passage getting to one of the lifters in that first cylinder. I'm not sure, but when I took off the valve covers and took off the rockers, this is what I saw. As you can see, that rocker arm shaft should be all the way straight across, but as you can see, it is not. It is bent up on the end here. And so this, when I found it, this keeper was laying in the head, and this rocker was slid halfway off. Now these rockers have a pin, a dowel pin, that normally keeps them on. You can actually see it right here on this one, and that's what keeps the keeper there. This one was sheared off, which of course means that the top and bottom of that dowel now were somewhere in the main part of the engine. So I have some choices. I can tear this engine completely down. It's got quite a few miles on it, and I'm still not 100% sure what the issue is. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for a new engine. I'll either look for a short block, which is a block without the heads but everything else. If I can find one for a reasonable price, I'll pick that up. I might also just look for a lower mileage engine. If I can find one with 150 to 175,000 miles, I'll be happy with that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. This will take a pause while I get that new engine in, and then I'll bring you back in for that rebuild. But I should have a stronger, better engine when everything's said and done. As always, I really do appreciate you watching. I do hear back from some of you who enjoy watching these videos and the updates that are going on. So please like this video. Please subscribe. That does help me know what to make. In the meantime, I'll be getting back to the Ural and getting some of the maintenance items that I've been putting off done on that, because it needs to be done.